Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Zai, and welcome back, finally, to another UNN broadcast. The last one of these we did, I believe, was the S4 tournament that they won. It's not an S4 tournament, it's an interfactionary tournament, but S4 won that tournament. We'll talk more about that later, though. I'm Knight, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Logan, and we have a shit ton of things to talk about today. Now, a lot of stuff is old, so we're going to speed blitz through that real quick, like Covenant shutting down. Logan, you remember the Covenant? They don't exist anymore. You see that picture over there? They're gone. Logan, what do you think about the Covenant shutting down?
And I mean, it was I saw it coming. It's still a little disappointing because I like fighting against the aliens, or as we like to call them, the split lips. But in the end, it's only so much we could do. Sad they're gone, but glad we're still running.
I agree. I agree. I do feel bad for Taco because Taco, bless his soul, still making worlds for us today. But Taco was pretty into the whole Covey stuff. Like big lore man. He's still around, obviously. He's in 79, doing good, making maps. But I do feel bad for our lovely boy Taco. Um, 77th also shut down. I'm pretty sure we covered that, but in case we didn't, they're also gone. We have a lot of old pictures here that may or may not have gone people. 77th Covenant. Everything is blue, so I can't see. I see E2 in that one. Yeah, E2 is gone too. Um, and military police got a new look on screen right now. Bam. But moving on, Logan, what's another thing that happened? Old news rise.
Old, still want to talk about old, or do we want to move into the
Still
new?
ta- still talking about old. Get another new an old one out there.
Ooh, well, there's a lot of stuff that happened a while ago, but let me pull up any big ones that have happened real quick. Um, we had the shutdown of the Covenant. We did have a couple of factions also close. Um, some other old news is S4 was the tournament winners when we did tournaments. That was a pretty interesting time, a lot of fun.
More on that later. More on that later.
Yeah, more on it later. We'll have some interviews come up for that. As well as that, we also have the step down of myself as the S4 commander, which we can do an interview on that later as well.
Oh, Dukian and Golf also stepped down a while ago. That's something.
That is true.
That's a
That
big.
is true.
While that is a big thing, it is unfortunately not the biggest thing. You would think that two, general, brigadier general status people stepping down would be quite a big thing, but nope, that is not even close to being the biggest thing we have today. Hold on, I'm getting something in my comms here. What do you mean the Epstein files still haven't been released? With everything, what do you mean? One moment. Logan, the world might be a little fucked.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
All right. Back to current day news. I just hit my monitor there. That could have been bad. Back to current news. Logan, take it away.
On more current events, we have some opinions from the Marines on how Marines are doing as an overall, and on the server itself, which we'll get into an interview with right now.
Back with another interview. Today we are joined by 17th Military Police Tigger. So Tigger, my first question for you would be, how did you feel about how today's event was ran?
It was alright. If I'm being honest, it was alright. The game modes were alright.
How do you feel about the specific game modes that were ran today, such as Territories, King of the Hill, Team Deathmatch, just the ones that, you felt like you were in the most nitty-gritty deep of the combat?
I like Territories a lot. TDM was pretty good. I like Grunt Rush. But Threshold, that one sucked. Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Oh, that one sucked ass. I don't like fuck Threshold.
Alrighty. So I guess I want to hop in on the territories round. How did you guys feel when the insurrectionists took 90% of the land that you were expected to defend?
It felt pretty bad. I wanted to bring that up, man. It sucked ass.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, the ODST hero here with another interview from our lovely, with a little glaze, S4 member, Midget. So, Midget, my first question for you today is, how did you feel about today's event?
I mean, it was good. I like Striker. He makes amazing events. I like the little beta test for the modes that he did, especially the middle, like where you can't go into the middle. You can only do it after the sudden death. That was pretty fun. The one life elimination was fun. I mean, we won, so that's all I can really say about it.
It's amazing to hear. So, for my next question about the game modes is, how did you feel about the ones that he tested specifically? What is it about the combat that made it stand out from the other game modes?
Well, when it comes to MOSs like the shotgun and the SMG, you can't be as aggressive. You have to focus more long range. So it has those people use weapons they're not necessarily comfortable with. So it makes you have to think even more critically. So you have to focus fire this guy if you want to kill him, because obviously if you can't rush him, he's just going to go hide in a corner until he regenerates health. So you got to focus fire, and you got to do what you got to do to kill him.
All right, that I could see how that would make it, a little more streamlined to focus the combat into specific areas over just trying to find whoever's on the map. So with that being said, I guess with the territories map that you guys had, or not map, but the round that you guys had lost, you lost, I want to say, about like all but 1 point to the insurrectionists. How did that get you?
I was on the insurrectionist team.
Oh, I thought you were UNC. My apologies. Well, how did you feel about winning?
It was good. We played heavy on teamwork, so we actually had what we did is we had a squad of 6 people running around just claiming most of the territories. That's how it was in the beginning, and then we ended up kind of just splitting off towards the end whenever everyone started dying. But during the beginning, we were able to capture a good bit of points, a good chunk of them, because we had a flamethrower in front. I was like mid with LMG, and then we actually had one shotgun in the back holding us and one shotgun in the front.
With the overall way of the server and how it has shifted, how do you feel the Marines are going to fare in this time of not crisis, but uncertainty?
You want my honest opinion?
Yes.
I feel like we're going to crumble. Not gonna lie. There's a lot of instability. Instability. Like,
where have you noticed this said instability, if you don't mind me cutting you a bit?
The fact that almost all of S4 is either not showing up anymore or just left. I feel like we're not getting much recruits anymore.
How do you feel about the state of the Marines right now?
Okay, the state of the Marines. 17th and 79 seem to be doing okay. However, where things start to take a really deep slope is S4. S4 is going into some really bad territory right now, and honestly, it's at risk of being shut down.
That's awful. What are the reasons it might be shut down for?
Well, a lot of the main reasons are promotion-based. We've had many members leave, come, and go based off the command structure of S4. We currently don't have a commander. Our commander stepped down 5-6 months ago whenever I joined the server. Overall, it's just we're having people leaving. We're having infighting. We're having people go on LOA until the command structure is fixed. People are just overall mad about not getting promotions, not getting the proper rewards that they want for attending, battling. Overall, right now, S4 is losing a ton of members, and a lot of them are going on LOA or just not showing up. We've had to kick people. We've had to just straight up just tell them to leave because they refuse to play. So right now it's going into a really bad state to where we only have 3 active players, including me, which I'm on basically daily. But other than that,
very
I'm
unfortunate to hear, and I'm so sorry to hear that your faction is, or I should say, your faction is an appropriate statement, but your faction is going through such a hard time. Do you think you'll be able to pull back from such a tragedy?
Honestly, it's kind of hard to say. the way it is and the way that it has been is the members that are newer that come, they get tired of not being able to get promoted. They get jealous of seeing other factions get promoted. So with the way things are going now, honestly, no, unless we get a commander or we get someone to start actually working properly on S4, I don't see it stepping back up because we're having even the newer members that we're pulling in, they're leaving. They're leaving. I'm honestly, me and Ghost are the oldest members that are in S4 right now, except for I think one Viper. He's been on LOA because he's been in the military. Other than him, we've been the longest in S4 because everyone else has just been leaving.
Well, that's very tragic. So, I guess to say for the future of the Marines, how do you feel that that's going to progress on? How do you feel like if S4 does get shut down, the rest of the Marine factions are going to operate since there'll only be two?
I feel like 79th and 17th are gonna have a little bit more pressure on them when it comes to getting Marines. Because if S4 gets shut down, that's one less Marine faction for new people to join. So that leaves it a little bit more limited to what people can do. So it's gonna put a lot more pressure on them, and if anything, they're probably gonna have to expand their numbers, which is gonna put more pressure on the captain and commander. And it's going to be rough if S4 gets shut down because again, like I said, that's one less faction for people to go to, and that means more people are going to be clumped to Marines. And then when people want to join ODSTs after everyone starts getting ranked, it's going to be a rinse and repeat cycle of a whole bunch of people going to ODSTs after a while, and then the Marine faction just filling right back up again.
I could see those points, but I would kind of just like to throw in that I feel like it would be a little bit easier for the Marine factions to get some more management now that there would have been two rather than three, especially with the precarious situation that S4 so happens to be in. Especially in these very hard times where a lot of the leadership is crippled, just like you said. You don't have a captain or commander, and to my knowledge, the regular Marine battalions kind of just have commanders only. So you were in a bit of a rough spot from the beginning. However, I do hope your faction makes an amazing comeback with the up and coming time you do still have left to bring up that faction. At least all we can do is pray. And for my next question is, how do you feel about the state of just events in general?
The events in general, honestly, I'm not gonna say they're bad. I do okay, so I will say with the event today, it changed things up a lot. It's not as repetitive as most events are. The good thing is there is a set schedule for events. However, a lot of people do believe, from what I've heard and just my own personal opinion, it is repetitive. It is a repetitive cycle that I personally like. However, a lot of other people don't like how genuinely repetitive it is. So I'm hoping soon they actually throw in more and more game modes rather than just doing the same rinse and repeat game modes. That way it keeps people enticed, it keeps me enticed, and I can have fun playing.
My name is Knight, and today we're interviewing Snowy Fox, the commander of the 79th Battalion. So, Snowy, first things first, thank you for your time today. Thank you for stopping by. Now, I have a couple different questions here for you today. The first one being, as the commander of 79th, excuse me, how do you feel your battalion's doing? Do you feel like you guys are doing good? You guys feel like you could be doing better? How do you feel 79's doing?
I feel that compared to what it used to be, or at least when the stalemate happened, that's what we call it, or at least what I call it as an insider, things have improved exponentially. I know we are lacking a little bit in activity, and some of the numbers would be nice to have to join in with that activity. I do dream of a big faction, lots of people, but it's going good so far. We're getting there.
All right, that's good to hear. My next question for you, how do you feel Marines as a whole are doing? Do you feel like you guys are all doing good? Do you guys feel like some of you guys are struggling? How do you feel about the Marines as a whole?
I think overall, I know things used to be better back then, but as of right now, we are holding steady as a whole.
Today, I'm joined by Roly Poly, aka Vinistra, of the 79th Battalion. Now, you are one of the newer members of the 79th, am I correct?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Okay, so to start things off, From your perspective as a newer member, how do you feel 79th is doing? Do you guys feel like you're okay? Do you feel like you could be doing a little better? How do you feel the 79th's doing?
I think we're doing pretty well. I just feel we could be a little more thorough with more attendance.
All right, that's good. Obviously, not having a lot of attendance, not too good. But I do like your opinion on that. I feel like attendance in general, should be a thing that's worked on. But my next question for you, how do you feel like Marines as a whole are doing? 79th, 17th, and S4 combined, basically.
I think attendance-wise, I think we're all doing pretty well, but I feel like S4 and 79th are also lacking more in attendance than 17th is. I think we're all doing pretty well, though.
And today I'm joined by Taco of 79th Battalion, ex-Covenant member. But speaking of that, Taco, first things first, thank you for your time. Thank you for stopping by the studio. First question, though, speaking of Covenant, you used to be, ex-Covenant member. Now, obviously, this happened long, long ago, and you're well adjusted into 79th. But how do you feel about Covenant shutting down?
Well, it's always going to be sad whenever a faction gets shut down or cut. I know a lot of people had their feelings about 77th and even the Covenant shutting down, but I'm honestly really proud of where the allocation of resources went. I know the Spartan program has gotten a lot of work behind the scenes, and I've felt some of those benefits even as a part of 79th, and I know a lot of the other factions are too, and I'm very proud to see where my hard work has started, and I know that it's being shelved and it's going to come back eventually, but I'm just glad to have a good foundation that I helped build.
That's nice to hear. My next question, now that you're a part of 79th, you've been in here for a while now, how do you feel the battalion's doing? You feel like you guys could be doing better? Do you guys feel like you're, okay as is? How do you feel about 79th?
Well, of course, all factions are going to be affected by anything that happens up in HighCom. I know there's a lot of friction and things happening higher up, and I would say that 79th hasn't really been excluded from that, but I feel like we've been preserved strong enough to go into it, to come out of it stronger than we were. I know Snowy over there has talked about it previously, but I think we're really strong and we've really come into our own, and I think we have a lot going for us eventually, and we're going to figure it out.
So, continuing off of the question I just asked you right now, how do you feel the Marines as a whole are doing? I believe 79th and 17th they're doing okay. I've heard recently that S4 have had a decent amount of member issues, and recently they've had to get Rav from the Spartans to step in. But how do you feel like the Marines, as a whole, are doing?
No, I wouldn't say that we're excluded from troubles. I know that there's things happening up in HighCom that's really, it's put a lot of pressure on the ODST side of things, and I know that we're having struggles trying to find people to host events and kind of lead things. But I think Marines as a whole has really, they've kind of come into their own, especially with the people that we already have. I know Snowy's really stepped up. He didn't even want to be leader of 79th. I know Ghost has really stepped up whenever it comes to recruitment, and I know S4 is working on things behind the scenes as well. I just think that there's so many different things going on at once that eventually it's all going to come together and mesh, and it's going to work out really well.
On a lighter note, and another old news thing that happened that we should have talked about earlier, Dookie had a child. I don't know the name of them. Logan, do you know the name of them?
I don't know her name, but I do know that she's a little woman.
Great, Logan. She equals woman. In case you guys didn't know that. But yeah, Dookie had a child. That is part of the reason why Dookie stepped down, because life gets in the way, life happens. But he does come in every now and again. And we wish him well. We wish his daughter and his family well. Discussed earlier in passing, we have a new Brigadier General, Tundra. Tundra is our Brigadier General, and we do have a couple of different opinions on Tundra being said Brigadier General. Now, that is quite a big thing, especially because of the other things that have happened. Currently, Tundra is, to my knowledge at least, aside from Noble and Sleepy, the only one who's over Marines and ODSTs. Now, obviously, I could be wrong. I remember Terra Scout being mentioned in one of the meetings. But I don't really see Terra Scout too often, so I don't really know what his position and things are. But as far as I am concerned, Tundra is pretty much over both Marines and ODSTs at the moment. Logan, how do you feel about, you know, everything that's, not everything because we still have to talk about that later, but how do you feel about Tundra being Brigadier General?
I mean, I think he got his way into the position through time and, showed his way up there. I not sure how things will go. I'm excited to see what changes he'll decide to make, and hopefully they're in benefit to not just the ODSTs, but the overall running of the server, including for the Marines, and maybe make some changes that make it a little more lively and exciting.
Do you believe that, now, apologies for putting you on the spot, but obviously, as one of the people in the OH, I want to get your opinion on things as well. But do you believe that making Tundra Brigadier General so suddenly was a good idea, or do you think they should have waited?
From my knowledge, I had heard he was working towards it for a little while, and that's been happening in the background. So it wasn't maybe so sudden to HireCom, but definitely to the rest of us, it was a sudden change. I think that right after a big thing like this, immediately promoting someone isn't always the greatest idea. But I mean, again, we're just gonna have to wait and see what changes are made and how things are done, and if he'll end up making good changes or if things will end up collapsing more.
All right. Well, now a bit of a random question and a little iffy thing as how the current state of the server is. But are there any other members who you wish to see in higher compositions, both Marines or ODSTs? It doesn't really matter.
As of the moment being, I don't really see anyone else making it to higher compositions. There's just a lot of lower leveled people in the server. I think that maybe over time, possibly someone like Book could be a good higher com member, though I also think he just plans on staying as a faction lead. Other than that, I don't see anyone at the moment that would work as a higher com member, but you're on your way there, you work your way there, it's always possible.
Awesome. Let's get into the interviews of the people.
As good as it is to hear that Tundra has moved up in the ranks, how is it that you feel about his new promotion to Brigadier General?
I don't pay much attention to that stuff, so I honestly could not give two shits.
I will say it put a lot more stress on the Marines, because his focus shifted very far away from the Marines because he's no longer a Marine Lieutenant Colonel. I haven't known Tundra long enough to have honest opinions on how I feel about him being promoted, although I will say that it put a lot of the Marines in a rough spot, and it put S4 in a rough spot. So that's one thing I will say I don't agree with, because as crippled as a state that most Marines are already in when it comes to the command structure, it just made it so much worse, because now there's basically almost all their focus has shifted away from the Marine factions to the ODSTs.
Tundra is the new Brigadier General. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like that's a good placement, an iffy placement? Do you feel like it was too early? But how do you feel about Tundra being Brigadier General?
I mean, during his time being general and helping out the Marines as best he can, coming up with different ideas, especially when it was much needed, I think he really stepped in and showed what it means to put in the dedicated work for something like UOH, so that way we can have at least a greater peace than what it would have been if we didn't have it. I think he's earned his position, and it is wonderful to know that there's at least someone up there helping us.
We now have a new Brigadier General, that being Tundra. How do you feel about that change? Do you feel like he's doing good in his position? Do you feel like he could have waited? How do you feel about Tundra being our new BGen?
Now, I know a lot of people don't see him as I know he's very sarcastic. I know he's a little bit hard to work with at times, but I'm very excited to see the changes that he's bringing, like Hellweek, and I'm very excited to see where he goes forward, because I know that he's a very rational person that wants what's best for the UOH. I think that although he's going to be a little bit difficult to work around, if you can kind of conform to how he wants things and how he does it, I think it's going to turn out very well.
Breaking news! Tragedy strikes. Longsword crash. 3 dead. 1 unlicensed pilot. We will get into the details now. From what I have here on the pad and the news team on the ground, it seems a longsword has crashed in Hate Recon's Flight World, which held one of our dear UNM members and a 10th member, as well as a unlicensed pilot belonging to no faction named Kiki. Now, from what we have here, it seems that the pilot careened this longsword straight into the floor. And the audio we have from it is terrain, pull up. Kiki, what are you doing? Transmission ends there.
We'll play the video and the audio on screen now. Obviously, graphic content ahead. If this is something you can't handle, then please skip ahead.
Yeah, you guys don't deserve to fly with me, bro.
Now, in a minute, we're going to get into a couple of the opinions of some older returning members that have left and then come back to the UOH recently, that being Maury Skeen and Ghost Love. We're going to get their opinions on a couple different of the things that have happened, went on, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So let's get into that.
Hello, everyone. Today we're here with Ghost Love and Maury, both returning members to the UOH. And we're actually here to get their opinions on how they feel about coming back. I'll start off with you, Ghost.
Well, honestly, I'm glad that I came back. If anything, I'm excited what the group has to offer. But yeah, no, just trying it out again. Why not?
For sure. And what about you, Maury?
Pretty much the same. You know, circumstances led me to taking an extended LOA from the group, and then, you know, came back, started going through everything again, and just still having fun. So I'm happy that
Alrighty.
I'm back.
For sure. My second question for you today, I'll start with you, Maury. How do you feel about our new general in there, Mr. Tundra?
Ooh, Mr. Tundra. Well, he's always been a bit of a joker and a prankster, and I don't know. I kind of rubs me the wrong way, but that's just me, you know. I think he would have been good as like a captain or, you know, the leader of a faction maybe, but not higher comm. But that's just my humble opinion.
For sure, and we all are entitled to our opinions in the end. What about you, Ghost?
Honestly, I agree with Maury. It doesn't really rub me the right way. Just cause, well, ever since coming back and, well, since the last time that I left, I guess the position really was unfair given to him. But if, you know, if they think he's the best candidate, then, you know, to be general, because as things are going on right now, I personally think they could have done a better choice, mostly with how I'd rather want him to communicate to everybody, from like Marines to like ODSTs and everything like that, because when he was really helping Marines, he didn't really do much for us. So if anything, it's the same consequences as we're getting, because he just doesn't want to help much with the Marines, and now he's more focused on ODSTs. So I'm just conflicted on, you know, whatever he does, that's higher com's choice. They picked him for a reason. They know what to do. That's on them. I personally did not like it.
Another question to ask you, Ghost. How do you feel about the step down of the recent higher comm members?
Honestly, I haven't heard much from it, but I believed that, you know, they wanted to do something and it just didn't go well for them. So I guess them trying to like change, I guess, an outcome with Tundra, it just didn't work out as much. So a lot of them did step down, but of course everyone has their own lives, so most of them stepped down because stuff they had to do in real life. And, you know, it's that's really the whole point. This is a group. This isn't something that should be taken seriously, but everybody's doing their own things. And because I personally also had to leave for real life reasons, that's the reason why I came back, because I finally took care of that. And this is something that I like doing in my free time. So
For sure, for sure. And what about you, Maury?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same way. This is, but when it all boils down to that, this is just a group to like come have fun, but it'd have the right amount of structure. It's not something that you should let take over your life because, well, I mean, we all have our own responsibilities and obligations that we need to fulfill outside of the group. And so when push comes to shove and you need to do that, obviously people are going to have to step down from wherever they are, even if they're high comm or higher comm. And like, while I'm sad to see that these higher comm and high comm members have stepped down, since I liked what they were doing when I was here previously, it just change happens. Life goes on. You just got to be ready for it, accept it, and fucking move on.
For sure, for sure. That's all of the questions I have. But I guess I'll start with you, Maury. Do you have a last statement you'd like to tell the camera?
No, I don't really think I have anything really else to say. Other than that, that it's definitely been interesting coming back and seeing how things have changed. It definitely feels better starting out than it did previously, but there are certain things that are missing that I'm hoping they'll be able to bring back and get things back in control and order.
For sure, for sure. Do you have something you want to say to the camera before we leave here?
Honestly, I have nothing much to say or like anything to ask, but yeah, no, I'm just excited to what the group brings again, because I do miss coming back. I do miss everyone, and as much as I miss old people from who stepped down and those who had left, like everybody has their own things, and new people come in, and sometimes it's a good change, sometimes it is, and honestly, I'm actually having a good time where I'm in right now, mostly in the faction that I'm in. Everybody's sweet, everybody's like, if anything, I'm more comfortable now because the group that I'm in really offers a lot of friendship, trust, and bond that I didn't have before. And honestly, if anything, they bring out the better of me. Then I literally can't ask for anything better, and I'm feeling great right now. So.
Now, recently, Tundra, with his new Brigadier General status, has worked with the ODSTs and revamped Hellweek. Now, we're going to get a couple different opinions of some of the members who stopped by today for today's Hellweek and get their opinion on things. So let's get into that right now. You attended the new Hellweek today, the one that Tundra's doing. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like it was an improvement, or do you feel like the old one was better?
Comparing from the old one and the new one, I think the new one is much better because it gets rid of the 2 days of nothing but PT. I think they were missing out on a golden opportunity, so it's great to hear that Tundra is at least coming up with certain days being a different lesson. I think that will help both the ODSTs and the Marines that join, along with, well, I guess not the recruits. But the Marines and ODSTs, I think it should be a little longer than what it was today, but overall, it was good.
Today, you and a couple other 79th members attended Hellweek. Now, you haven't seen or were around for the original one, but how do you feel about this newer one where every day is, a new lesson to learn, basically?
I think it's fun. I like that we have different things to learn each day. I think it's a good idea. We need more of that.
Today, you and a couple other 79th members attended the new Hellweek. Now, my hands, I don't know if you attended the original Hellweek, at all. But on the off chance you did, how do you feel the new one is, especially compared to the old one, if you attended that older one?
Well, I'm a really big fan of this new Hellweek. It really gives a sense of what ODSTs are about. Today's focus was on communication, and although I couldn't join a VC, I did know kind of what I was going into whenever coming into ODSTs or what that kind of looked like expectations wise. I know a lot of ODST factions, you're required to be a part of VC, and that's not something that hinders Quest users like myself because we work around that. And so although the new Hell Week is going to be taking away PT days, I think that's a really good funnel for kind of more skill based and trying to find leadership, kind of diamond in the rough almost.
On other news, we have the step down of Ghosted and Hero alongside the demotion of Bread. We have some interviews about that and people going into detail on their thoughts of it, which we'll go to right now. Hello, I'm here today with Engulfed talking about the recent events. Engulfed, how do you feel about the step down of Bread, Hero, and Ghosted?
I feel, I don't know, not surprised in the sense like, you know, a lot of stuff happened. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it, if it's controversial or not, you know, but some of them, I think it was kind of expected. Others was not expected. I think it was just more of a way to silence them, you know, from voicing other people's opinions, you know, because some of these higher com members that stepped down or left actually were defending the point of view of the smaller ranks, you know, giving us insight and all that, especially me, you know, knowing kind of how it goes. You know, it's kind of upsetting, you know, hearing other higher com members, you know, saying stuff like, who cares what that guy thinks, you know, he's just an E3, you know, and then other higher com members while in that meeting defending our point of view or the other people's point of view, and then out of nowhere they just get removed or demoted. You know, we all feel like it was just a way to silence them.
Well, do you have anything you'd like to say to the camera before we end here?
Do not be scared to voice your opinions. It'll be okay. You know, no one's gonna get after you.
How do you feel about the step down of our three higher com members? Just whatever opinions you have on it.
Well, even though I've heard so much about it, I still don't know most of the story. So I don't know all the all the behind the scenes stuff that happened, you know, all that stuff. I will say I do wish it didn't escalate so quickly because it seemed like in the span of like 24 hours, it seemed like it just went to shit. Just went chaotic as all hell. I do wish it didn't jump the gun as quick. Like, I think a lot of people would have supported, you know, the people that were affected by it, like Bread. I do think a lot of people would have supported him, you know, it's unfair that he got demoted for what was essentially what started it was a color on an armor. At least that's what I've heard. Other than that, I don't know. It's kind of a messed up situation. I don't have a lot of information about it.
For my next line of questions, I'd like to get into the dissipation of the ODST higher command. What is it, I guess, that was going through your head when both your leaders decided to step down?
In my head, I was thinking, oh shit, this is going to impact a lot of stuff that happened to us. It's going to impact trainings. It's going to impact rank ups. And when when half of 9th left, I was a little bit stressed out, thinking, is 9th going to have to 9th and 10th going to have to be merged into one?
Well, we'd probably hope not. Love to see the 9th around. So for my next question, I would say is, how do you feel the ODSTs are going to fare off in the future with this sort of dissipation of your leadership?
So from what I've heard within our lovely group chat, it's been worse before. So I think we'll pull through. I think everything will be all right if we just see it through, just work together on it, and just try and, I guess, recruit as many people that as we can that are also somewhat decent with combat so that we can nurture them into more combat and ODSTs.
So, how is it that you currently feel about the loss of lots of leadership in the UOH as of right now? And how do you believe it's going to affect the UOH moving on? Or I should say, not the UOH, but it's going to affect the Marines from here on forward.
We lost people? Oh shit, I don't even know. I don't know. To be honest, I only know 2 people have left, and that was it. But like, did we lose more than 2 people?
Yes.
Who the fuck did we lose?
I stepped down, Ghosted stepped down, and then Bread was removed.
Yeah, I know you stepped down. I don't know why. I don't really care.
We're not going to get into that, but those are the people that left. How do you feel about those people who have left? The ones that you did not know about?
Who was the other one except for you and Bread?
Ghosted.
I didn't know he was still here.
He stepped down from ODST Colonel, not Lieutenant Colonel, that was Bread. But he stepped down as ODST Colonel.
I didn't know he was here, so I thought he dipped forever ago.
Moving on to the next segment.
With you and Bread, it's alright. Life takes first.
Recently, we've had 3 higher comm members step down, that being Hero, Bread, and Ghosted Blue. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like it's impacted you or the Marines at all in any sort of way?
I didn't feel any strong impact, but it's the memory that really does affect me. Bread and I, we used to do tryouts sometimes when he was in ODSTs, and then with ODST Hero, he helped me with recruitment when I asked for it when my members were too low. So it really is unfortunate to see that all 3 of them were gone.
Recently, we've had a couple of higher comm members step down or get demoted, that being Hero, Bread, who got demoted and left, and then Ghosted, who left himself. How do you feel, hearing that we had 3 high comm members, one of them being on your guys' side, Hero. How do you feel, hearing that we had a couple of higher comm members leave?
I saw them a bit when I was still a recruit, but I feel like it definitely took a dent in the way that the server's been ran. I feel because that is 3 higher positions that are now empty, and now everybody has to work on gathering those positions again.
Recently, we've had a couple of higher comm members step down, get demoted, and leave. Hero from the Marines was one of them. He was Marine Lieutenant Colonel. Bread from the ODSTs was demoted from his Lieutenant Colonel position and left. And then Ghosted he stepped down from his Colonel position, and I believe is still hanging around the server, but he might have left as well. How do you feel about that, especially knowing that one of your leaders was one of the ones who left?
I think that's really just a testament to the friendships that we make here. They probably didn't know each other very well before then, even if they did, and they were close friends before. The bonds that we find here and how much time we spend around each other, I feel like that's really shown in all of them deciding if one of us goes down, all of us goes down. And I think that really shows what we do here and the types of people and friends and places that we can all go to.
Voted in. Oh shit! Apologies for that, everybody. Our new intern was drunk on his first day. We're definitely gonna have to talk about that. But Logan has been sent to the nearest UNSC hospital. But the news must continue. So as I was saying earlier before being interrupted, segueing from the step down and demotion of Bread, Ghosted, and Hero, we do actually have a special guest that I am attempting to summon from the void, but as of right now my hands don't want to work. Give me a moment here so I can... Special guest Hero for an interview today. Hero, you're pretty in the middle ground about things, at least compared to everyone else. You left on decent terms with Tundra. But you also left because of everything that happened inside of HireCom. Now, not a lot of people know what happened. A lot of people are wondering what happened. Could you give us some insight?
Well, of course, I'd love to talk about it. Not in the fact that, oh, this is what happened, but, just to get some justice out there for my boy. The way he was demoted, for me, it was just, I didn't like how it happened. There was a small controversy with a uniform, as things tend to happen, daily, server routine stuff. But instead of it being like settled in a professional manner, it was taken into a place of privacy, which it definitely shouldn't have. I will fault Brett for that. Maybe we shouldn't have gone into a private server to talk about something that should have been UOH related. I don't like how my friend was talked to, or how the way he talked to them in that scenario. It was just a lot of back and forth, zero professionalism, rage baiting, just very, 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 very retard ass activities. And the main reason I left was because if that's how we're gonna deal with small and very, I want to say, unproblematic issues, something as small as like a color, or just handling ourselves amongst each other as server members, friends, and just people of the community, I just kind of didn't want to be a part of that or even become a victim of that. So I just simply thought the smartest thing to do was to remove myself from the situation, so there wouldn't be a bias of, oh, I'm defending my friends because they're my friends, and oh, I'm defending the community because I'm dick riding. I just wanted what was best for the server in all aspects. Again, I still think arguing over something as small as a color was pretty childish and very immature. But it's what happened. And the way that the aftermath was, I want to say, arguably even worse than the situation itself. We ended up losing two good friends and two people I very much enjoyed being under and alongside within the community, both Ghosted and Bread. Now, obviously, I've known Bread since high school, so I have a little more favor towards him, but I tried to treat him and Ghosted as equals when it came to UOH standards, handling factions. I lent a hand where I could, and then to see such a good thing go down the way it did was very heartbreaking. I didn't really respect it on either side. I felt like Bread could have been more calm, and I felt like Ghosted could have been, a little bit more professional. But I want the main takeaway to be, to work together as a people for the community, not for selfish goals or entitlement, I should say. It's better to be a people than it is a one-man army. Whether you're right or wrong, because everyone's right and everyone makes mistakes. And yes, everyone does make mistakes, even higher and HighCom.
That was honestly a really nice speech. You made a lot of really nice points there. Now, I hope you don't mind that I pick at you a little bit more for just a couple more questions here. As you might know, Tundra got promoted to Brigadier General in the absence of you, Bread, and Ghosted. How does that make you feel? Do you think that this is going to be a positive change, a negative change? Do you think it's a position that Tundra is going to be able to work good in? Or do you think that this might have been a bad change or something that was too premature?
Honestly, I'm really happy he did get the promotion. Just sad it happened under the circumstances that it did. But he's been pushing for that position for a really long time. He's been working at it. He's been a great protege to me, as well as, the other Marines that I got to work with. He was really there for me to show me the ropes, as well as kind of like guide me on the path of what a good lieutenant colonel would look like, and maybe even a future lieutenant or a future colonel if I would have made it that far. He was a really good friend and a really good teacher. But at the same time, I feel like with all the controversy and the drama, it should have been weighted just a little bit. But I don't see any complaints about it. I personally am super happy he got the position. Although just the circumstances that it came to, especially with like the bit of overstepping that happened with the ODSTs and the color, again, it sucks to talk about, but it is what happened. So despite all that, I'm really supportive of my boy. I hope that one day he makes it just general, just like a straight general. I'm really proud of him. But yeah, I think it's gonna be really good for the server. I know there's some mixed feelings about how Tundra operates, but when you get to be with him personally and in those meetings, he's very like work focused and a lot. Or when I was there, very Marine centered, so he had nothing but the best interests in mind. We both came up with really good ideas, especially to help them out and helping the faction trainings as well as recruitment. He was super supportive of my ideas as well as the things I wanted to push for, and especially in the community. It was always like when I'd bring it up, he would be there to back me up because I feel like he just knew that that was always the thing to go for. It was always about the community, less about what it is, people just wanted to do. More action than talk, I want to say. That's what I'm trying to say there. He put more action than talk because there was a lot of waiting and debating, but when he was there, he had a way of getting it through, so then shit would actually happen.
Nice. Honestly, it does feel nice to hear some positive words about Tundra. I know a couple of our interviews, had especially from the older members, who had come back. They weren't exactly negative, but they weren't exactly positive either, if you know what I mean. But it is nice to hear a couple of good words about Tundra. Just only hearing negative feedback, it can make things seem a little more drastic than it is. Now another question I do have is, this might not be too public, but according to some sources, according from some people, both who have left and who are still here, I've heard rumors about corruption in higher comm or corruption in the UOH. Now, I don't know if there's anything you know about it, but in case it does become a widespread rumor, I would like to address it just in case, things aren't as bad as people are making it out to be. Because last thing we need is a bunch of discourse or rumors in the UOH. So if you do have any light to shed on the corruption in the UOH, feel free to share. And if not, we can move on to another question.
I'm willing to share a little bit, at least in the way of that. I feel like, again, it's still all a lot more centered towards the stigma that there is a favoritism in higher comm. I won't lie, there is. It's not as bad as I feel like it's being projected, but it is definitely still a problem because off the books, there was a conversation with Noble between me, Bread, Noble, and Sleepy. And one of the things that really bothered me to hear was, one of the reasons we're not letting this happen is because he said so. And I don't want to get into names, so I don't put a bad spotlight on anyone or, put a bad stigma towards our leadership, because at the end of the day, that's all we. Oh, excuse me, I forgot to put my phone on silent. I'm getting a phone call, but there is a stigma that there's favoritism amongst the higher comm, and I have seen it. I won't even lie. I felt it a little bit too, but I would like to say I hope that will dissipate now, at least in the sense that not because there's less higher comm, but due to the fact that because of this situation, we've learned and to look at things a little more realistically rather than just the consensus of our friends. And that's what I hope is learned from the most of this whole situation. Now, while I say I had the utmost respect and the absolute best time that I've had in the leadership of the UOH was as a lieutenant colonel, it was strange. It was definitely something to get used to. But I wouldn't use the word corruption. I'm trying to think of like a better way to phrase it, because corruption makes it sound more evil than it really is. I want to say it was just, I guess, favoritism, a little bit of favoritism, and I won't lie, I was a little guilty of that. You've seen the way I've treated S4. Sometimes I gave them a little more attention than they should have deserved, but tried to grow from that, and I realized, hey, I need to focus on all the factions, so I branched out. So, like kind of how my situation was, we all live and we learn.
I agree. Now, just a final, maybe one or two more questions. Obviously, you're aware of the aftermath, the fallout, I guess, of the entire thing of you, Bread, and Ghosted stepping down, with Tundra being Brigadier General, but also the effect on the effect on basically the normal UOH people. both, captain, commander, but also, not high comm roles. Especially on the UOH side of things. 9th Battalion, as you might know, is down to, 4 members. And 10th Battalion might have lost a member too, though I'm not too certain about that. How does the fallout of everything make you feel? I know obviously you have a very strong connection with 9th Battalion, as you were former leader twice over, 3 times over now.
Twice. Just
But
twice.
how does the fallout make you feel, especially from an outside perspective?
Honestly, I feel like it's not for me to judge that specifically. Everyone in that, group, especially a lot of my friends, made their decisions based off what they thought was best and what they needed. It's kind of like, oh Jesus, crazy ass stutter, but kind of like how I stepped away from the situation simply because I didn't want to get a negative view on one side or the other. I feel like they made their own choices in their own ways. Some for different reasons, just as others. Same with me, but it's sad to see. What was once a really good ODST faction prospered by a community and a fosterhood of friends with a lot of camaraderie. To see it go down the way it did, it hurt a little bit. I won't lie. It hurt a little bit. It's I don't know. It's not the easiest thing to talk about. I had a lot of connection to the faction, especially after bringing it up when I first joined, all the way back in 2022 maybe. It's been a long time, but it was good. Things like this happen. And the reason people leave is just always up to them. So I feel like the members who have gone are justified and the members who have stayed are justified. It's just, you hate to see the divide. You really want those friends to stick together and not drift apart over petty reasons. Something as simple over a video game. And even smaller than that, a server in a video game. It's just not fun to see. And because this server was able to even make that possible, I'll always respect it. But I'll never respect the way it went down. It's very tragic.
Segueing off of that, do you believe that everything could have went down differently? Like, in a less, I guess, aggressive and catastrophic way to put it? Do you think that there could have been another outcome?
Yes, actually, I do. I feel like if our concerns were fallen on less deaf ears and, some cooler heads were allowed to prevail, the situation would have been handled much better. And I feel like the conflict could have been resolved in a much easier way so that this divide wouldn't have to exist and I wouldn't have to choose friend over friend. But I guess that's kind of like a little bit selfishness. What I want to say I care about the most is now the divide amongst the server, with the Marines now or some of the Marines having little to no leadership, especially with the high comm, not higher comm, but like the high comm lacking of leadership for S4, and then as well as both factions having no captains. And now us being able to lose an entire ODST faction, which might, hopefully, I'm really praying for the bring back up of 9th, because it's come back from worse. I'll give it to it. It's come back from worse, but this one felt a little personal, so it's hard for me to say.
Understandable. Especially with the personal aspect of the question. My final question, I believe, would there be, now this is a completely hypothetical question, would there be, or at least do you think there would ever be a chance of you returning in any capacity? And if so, would there be a change needed for you or anyone else who have left to come back?
Well, I can't speak on anyone else's behalf simply because I'm not them and I don't feel the things that they feel. All I can do is kind of just try my best to honor those feelings. But as for myself, I don't know if I'll make a return to any combat factions. However, I will remain in the UNN, as this has been a bit of a passion. as this has been a little bit of a passion project between me and you, so I always hold a little candle to it. But I don't know. Personally, I don't think I do. I don't think I see myself returning combat-wise or leadership-wise. But
with that being said, thank you, Hero, for your time, especially coming all the way back here to help with interviews and to be interviewed yourself. Do you have any final messages, any final words that you'd like to say to the camera?
I do. I know there's probably some things I might have said in this interview that you don't like, or a lot of people don't like, or somebody doesn't like. But the point is, I say these things not because there are people I'm angry at, or there are people I hate, or there are people I'm really cool with. It's not about the feeling. It's about the truth of the situation and how things went down. You can't smother the truth because you either regret it or it makes you feel bad. It'll always come to light. And I feel like that will be my top priority in this new station. Keeping shit truthful, keeping it peaceful, and keeping everyone informed. And I'm still happy to be a part of this server in this capacity.
In a surprising turn of events, we're here joined by none other than Bookable Puppy, the, I believe, current lead of 10th Battalion. Am I correct?
Oh yeah, I just got my promotion, I think, on Friday.
Awesome. Well, congrats on your promotion. Now, we do have a couple of questions. Some are old news, some are, newer news. To start off, the ODST evaluations, how do you think they went? How do you think you did if you participated? And how do you think about, basically, just give your general opinion on them?
So with the ODST eval, sadly, I was on LOA that week, so I wasn't able to see any of them. I didn't have to participate, but from what I've heard, my guys did really well, so you can't go wrong with that. I got good opinions from everyone so far. The evals, at first, I was a bit skeptical of them, don't get me wrong, but I was able to work with Ghosted. Me and Mug were able to give our recommendations, which then got put in place, which definitely made us feel a lot more comfortable with them at the end of the day.
Nice. That's good to hear. Now moving on to something a little bit more recent. Obviously, as you know, we've had a couple higher comms step down. Not to get into any, political things, what side you're on or anything, but how does, hearing that a bunch of higher comm members stepped down, got demoted or left, how does that, make you feel just in general?
Dude, generally it does suck. A lot of the higher comm, I was here on my first time around in UOH, and then on my second time I saw them too. Specifically, it sucks for Mops the most. When I was becoming a captain, me and him were together, essentially not together in a weird way, but we were both rising through the ranks at the same time, going through the training. We both hosted Hellweek at a time too. It definitely sucked with you too. Hero was here for my first time around. He does not remember me in any sort of way when I was first here. I talked to this guy maybe like once, but my second time around, it sucks specifically my second time around because I got to know the other ODSTs on a much more outside level of UOH. So it definitely sucks to see Hero gone. It definitely sucks to see Bread gone and Mops and all that. But respectfully, end of the day, I got to do what's good for 10th, and that's what we can continue to do. That was a horrible stutter.
That's okay, kid. So, in related to the, higher comm debacle, Tundra's our Brigadier General now. What's your opinion on that? Do you feel like it's, a good placement? Do you feel like
it was definitely surprising to hear at first, mainly just because we didn't see the announcement of him getting promoted. We saw the announcement of ODSTs having a meeting on Friday. So there was definitely a bit hesitant at first, mainly because it was just so out of the blue and out of nowhere. But honestly, after talking with him for a while and setting some stuff up for ODSTs, more to see in the future, by the way, it's been really nice so far. And he definitely is trying his best to make UOH and ODSTs grow in the recent events.
That's nice to hear. That's really nice to hear. We've had a couple interviews that, have a bit of a, not a negative opinion on Tundra, but, not the best opinions on Tundra. So like I told Hero not too long ago, it's nice to hear some good words about our current Brigadier General. Another opinion related to the everything that has happened as a recent 9th Battalion, as you know, we're kind of in, rough straits at the moment. We have around 4 members and stuff like that. How does seeing, 9th Battalion struggling after all the aftermath, how does that make you feel?
Cool. So I'll be honest here, right? So Me personally, I've had very strong opinions against ninth. This is due to some different point of views in there. Now, it's never gotten out of hand. It's always been something cool. We've kept it to ourselves, everything like that. So it's never really gotten to become an issue. With everyone gone, it definitely sucks. This is probably, in all due respect, the worst in ODST battalion we've had in a while. So it definitely sucks in that area, but I also do think it allows for a lot of new openings to happen with the 9th Battalion.
No, so I like your feedback on that. That was a bit of a new take. We haven't gotten an opinion like that. Yet. So honestly, a fresh opinion like that, it is nice. My final question for you, just to wrap things up. Aside from Tundra, being the newest addition to Higher Com, is there anyone in the future anyone in the future who you would like to see maybe end up in higher com?
So honestly, when it comes to higher com, I can't really make my opinion on that now. That's mainly because honestly, I need to find a way to word this.
The lack of people.
Yeah. Thank you. So the lack of people, honestly, higher com just hasn't been looking for all that. Just hasn't even been on the biggest plate of issues right now. While finding people for higher com possibly in the future now would be a good step, but only as people you should be looking at, not immediately promote. If you catch my meaning.
I completely agree. I feel like if there were to be people appointed to higher com positions, it should be much later down the line, especially because a lot of our battalions, both Marine and ODSTs, are struggling high com wise. S4, for example, doesn't have anyone really leading them at all, and 9th Battalion currently, once again, does not have a commander. Nothing new for us, of course, but still something that is going on.
So, I'll go into what I can with that really quick. I will be helping out IDEA. We do have some changes coming into the future with ODSTs and everything like that, which will be worked upon with me, IDEA, and Tundra. Not getting too into depth, but one of these things will be helping IDEA get used to his new role. Since he became a captain and then all this stuff happened, he hasn't really had a chance to ease himself into it when it comes to like trainings and everything like that. So we're gonna be supporting him along that path, get him used to everything like that. So far we've done the same with MigetMaker. He is currently one of the highest ranks in S4 as of currently. We have stepped in for a few trainings and we have given him recommendations and stuff like that to help him out for the future. So with our current scenario, this is one of those things where the best thing we can do is not cause more drama for the future, but actually act like a universe. We're all here for Halo. We all need to actually work together,
I completely agree.
I couldn't agree more.
I'm such a community guy, so to hear someone else with these kind of opinions in mind, all community first, getting everyone to work together without like the restrictions of like personal things getting in the way, makes me feel so much better about its future.
As does I. But that's all all the questions we have for you. Unless Hero, you would like to add anything?
No, I'm all good. Honestly, he has a pretty strong standpoint, and I agree with it. Mostly, there's some things, we all got our own grievances on, but it was still very solid opinions. Very good to hear. And I guess if I did have a question, it would be, what do you think there could be done to improve at least 9th as a standing wise, especially in this hard time for them?
So a lot of the stuff we've talked about so far, I'm going to be completely honest here, has been specifically between me, IDEA, and Tundra. So I'll go into what I can, but a lot of it's still in the works. Recently had a meeting with them today to go over some stuff, so we are working on improving it. So first of all, we're going to be working on avatars a bit. With all of the conundrums and stuff like that has happened recently, it's not going to be our main focus, but we're going to be revising some stuff to make avatars a bit simpler in that area, so people aren't going overboard with stuff like that. but mainly it's all about just getting ninth back up to what it is and to what it originally stood for.
I like that. That's a good sentiment. And I can't wait to see ninth get back on that upper.
Awesome. Now, let's wrap things up real quick. Do you have any final words that you'd like to say to the camera? Any final words, opinions, or any messages you'd like to give?
Honestly, no. That's all I got right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, and thank you for joining us here in the studio, Bookable. Continuing with our special guests in the completely unexpected turn of events, we are here joined by Gallium and once again Bookable. Yeah, so old man Gal. I know, excited. Everyone loves Gallium. Everyone loves to see him. Probably shut up. Probably one of the most beloved 10th members out there. But Gallium. So, first off, thank you for coming. Thank you for giving us your time. Bookable, same with you. I know we've already interviewed you, but you're here again.
Glad to be here.
Obviously, there has been quite a lot of stuff happening in the OH over the past month and a half. So first off, we're gonna start off with the ODST evaluations. I don't know if you were there for them or not, but 10th and 9th took part in them. So could you give us your opinions on the evals, what you thought about them, how you think you did, and just your general opinion on them?
I mean, we all passed.
Clap. Continue.
Yeah, we all passed. I wasn't, but I kind of was stressing out over it a little bit. It didn't feel like it was really necessary, truth be told. But hey, we all passed. I feel sorry honestly for who was it? Halo Mate, who basically had to go last. So they basically pretty much had to hang around for the whole thing, and the members of it was S4, I think we were up against. It had given them sort of the whole. How long was it? It was like a good, at least like a whole hour, if not more.
Yeah, we had interviewed Halo, I want to say a day or two ago, and they told us, since they were the lower rank, that they had to go last or something like that.
I think
didn't
it was
know
just
that
how
it
things
took so
ended up on
long,
the.
though.
I think it was just how things ended up on the line. I think.
I didn't know that it took so long, though.
It was, yeah, it took a while. I mean, there was, this was back when, well, still got really only lost like what, between then and now, like 1 or 2 from 10th, but 9th was at pretty full capacity. So there was quite a lot of people to go through.
Yeah. I was on LOA, so personally, I wasn't there. I was on vacation. I was working, guys. I had a job for like a month. It was scary. Do you have a scary sound effect?
Shrieking.
The equipment's malfunctioning.
All right, we'll get back to that later.
Don't I know that feeling?
But jobs.
There we go.
Okay, mute the sound effect.
I hope he's an unpaid intern.
My next question for you, Gallium, to get a little bit, with the more recent events, obviously we've had a couple of Highcom members step down, get demoted, and leave the server. That being Hero, Red, and Ghosted Blue. And obviously, as ODSTs, it has affected our side of things quite a lot. Obviously, the Marines aren't unaffected, but with ODSTs and especially 9th Battalion, seeing how we only have 4 members at the moment, what how do you feel about the ODST Highcom basically dissipating? Obviously, we have Tundra as a Brigadier General at the moment, but how does seeing, those 3 higher com members leave, do you, what's your opinion on that?
Like, ultimately, I ultimately I'd have rather the whole thing have not happened at all, but there were things that caused it to happen, that some that could have been addressed, some that definitely should have been, I suppose. Like when some of the situation was pretty much sort of boiling over, I wanted to have at least tried to have done something to maybe settle things down, but I couldn't. I literally had to go to bed because the next morning I had to wake up and because I was in Italy at the time. Next morning I had to wake up and drive to airport in Milan to fly home. So I was, if anyone was wondering, I doubt they are, but if anyone was wondering, what was I doing during all of this? Flying. Literally flying home.
I'm gonna have to play Where in the World is Gallium with you going everywhere.
Oh, God. Yeah, only 2 continents I haven't been to.
Honestly, that's actually kind of cool. Opinion aside, you charm aside, that is kind of cool. Traveling is a pretty fun thing. But back to the UOH stuff. This thing that you wanted to, at least in spirit, wanted to help out. Try to calm things. That is pretty nice. It is good to know that at least someone out there wanted to try to take action. Because a lot of people would either just sit idly by to not get in trouble or anything. But moving on, as I mentioned earlier, Tundra is our brigadier general now. Do you feel like this was a good placement? Do you think it was premature or rushed, or do you feel like it was a good placement?
Well, I think this isn't the first time he's generally been involved with both high and higher comm in some manner, coming and going a bit during the past. So, I mean, I guess he's not a stranger to that, degree of position, but it's a little higher than I think it is higher than anything he's touched before.
I believe so. I believe he was Marine Lieutenant Colonel and then Marine Colonel.
Yeah, okay, so it is higher than anything before, but I guess it's as the situation's needed. Things.
All right.
Things weren't going well. Needed someone there.
All right. So, just another question or two. Let me think.
Sure.
Let me think. I've done this like 3 times already. You think I'd have this off the top of my head? Oh, okay. So, this is normally a question I would say for last, but since I'm kind of brain farting, I asked everyone this. Do you think in the future? I kind of worded that wrong. In the future, is there anyone in particular you would like to see be higher comm?
In the So that's an interesting question, because I know that there's some people who I would say would be a good fit for it, but have personally expressed that that's not for them. So I kind of don't want to answer that, only in the sense of I don't want to be putting by saying anything, putting any sort of expectations on anybody.
Yeah, you don't have to if you don't want to. Any question that you're ever asked, you don't have to answer.
Oh, I'm saying that is my answer. That I don't want to give any. There are people I can think of. I do not want to give out the names to not put any
pressure or expectations.
Pressure, exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
Because there are definitely some.
So, I guess to wrap things up, this is a question we asked the Marines, not as much as ODSTs, but how do you feel the UOH in general is doing at the moment? Like, if you were to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being everything's on fire and the world's gonna die, and 10 being everything is perfectly fine, well, where would you rate the UOH at the moment?
I'd say about 4.5, 4.5, 4.5. Like
that's fair. That's fair.
With we for whatever reasons, in whatever manner, we lost a bunch of higher comm. Most of 9th went again for whatever reasons, and I'm not fully aware of the entire set of all the details. I just know what I have been told and have heard. So things aren't necessarily great, but everything isn't on fire. We've not, nobody's died, nothing's exploded. The only thing on fire is Code's dignity. So
you get used to it.
But if I think it's the thing of if we can get through this and get things sort of stabilized and some things fixed up, like, might be okay. I mean, if you want me to really find out what's going to happen, I can go warm up my crystal ball.
By all means, Mr. Wizard Gallium, you totally can.
He has to take his arthritis meds if he wants to get to the true state for that, though.
Well, screw you! I don't have arthritis.
You gotta
Sure,
down
Gramps.
an entire bottle of Tylenol to unlock the autism stages.
I think it's a bit too late for this old guy here, though.
Another question that I just remembered that I was gonna ask before, because we mentioned 9th Battalion and their numbers. Seeing the fallout of our 3 higher members leaving, Tundra being Brigadier General, and both 9th Battalion as well as S4 struggling when it comes to members. How does seeing the fallout make you feel? I know it probably doesn't affect you or 10th in any matter, but seeing the fallout and your fellow battalion struggling both member-wise and partially morale-wise, how does that make you feel, if anything?
I did wonder exactly sort of what, especially when the worst of it was happening and there was not really much I could do because, again, flying home. I was, and the rest of that week, honestly, I was wondering exactly what should I do? Should I try stick around, give it a bit, see what happens, or should I just call it a day and bail out and go do whatever it is I do.
Old man stuff.
And hey, I have a lot of things I'm working on. Okay, some that are really close to being done. I guess the decision I end up making is, well, I guess I'll stick around.
And
So-
stick around and see what happens.
Yeah, Buzz. I mean, I'm also, being on dev team, I've got to at least try and keep things in some kind of working order. And if I think I've said this to some people, if I were to leave, all the stuff development wise that I've made and for UOH, I would, pack. Even if I was ended it leave on bad terms, I would still actually pack all that up and provide it to the other developers before I fuck off.
That's awfully nice of you, actually. That is quite nice to give the resources to other developers and such. Because a lot of people, at least that's what I interpreted from that. Because a lot of people just private it all and leave. Not to name any names, crit. But You know, a lot of people just take their stuff and leave when they go.
Hmm.
So the fact that you'd give it to developers, well, you know, is pretty nice. At least that's what I interpreted from that.
Yeah, no, that's correct. That's exactly what I would do. Yeah.
Awesome. That is really nice of you. So, that is, I believe, everything for that I have to ask you today. Unless Bookable, you have a question to ask one of your own guys.
No, I got no
Code, do
questions,
you have
bro.
anything to say? Do you have you want to use your 5 yearly words?
So about
All right, awesome. Gallium, do you have any any last message or anything you want to say to the camera?
Where's my goddamn hot dogs?
Quiet down! Quiet!
You send them back to their retirement home already?
I really hope the camera picked up.
Yeah, it should have. We'll see you guys in the next segment. I'm gonna get Gallium back.
I really hope the camera picked up the little battle me and Book were having for the topic.
It should have. It should have. Let me check.
I was like dropping between it and one of my.
Dude, I just got to the point where.
To continue with our special guests, as we had both Hero and Bookable, we now have our lovely ex-lieutenant colonel of the ODSTs, Bread, to join in with a different perspective of things. So, Bread, to start things off, I know you don't really know, what you're going to get interviewed on. Obviously, it's going to be in relation to everything that's happened the past few days. But to start things off, similarly to what I asked Hero, what's your perspective of things? Hero was kind of the middle ground. He left on good terms, but he also knows what happened with you. So, as someone who got demoted and then left, could you please share some insight on everything? I know a couple of people are wanting to know kind of what happened. Hero went over a couple of things, so if you want, go ahead and tell everyone what went on.
How this all generally started was over a color that I've had multiple people right after this whole incident confirm whether the color was genuinely reserved for higher comm only, and multiple of these people had confirmed, including ex-members of the server, that this color was indeed not reserved for higher comm. And so before I asked those people, I had to get into a voice chat the day this argument broke out in ODST, armor approvals. Hence, no, not hence, quotations, ODST. So I saw what was going on there. I see that Noble, not Noble. I see that Sleepy. I see that Tundra, and I see that Ghosted are on a VC. I joined that VC just to understand, or just to clear the air on what the hell is going on. And so I'm like, what's wrong with the armor? What's the problem? I'm trying to ask this to Ghosted. Ghosted kind of just gives me the response that Tundra says. I wanted his own opinion. I got his opinion later. I got his opinion. But Tundra was the one that was doing this, the talking for whatchamacallit. For Ghosted. Yeah, for Ghosted. And I'm like, no disrespect, man. I don't think he heard me when I said this because there was a lot of people talking. I'm like, you're kind of overstepping your boundaries here, especially when you talked about you worry about ODSTs and I worry about Marines. Very hypocritical in my opinion. And so his excuse was that it didn't look uniformed at all. And I'm like, uniformed? It doesn't look uniformed. So we want to get after a little bit of gold, but we're straight up wearing, propeller hats and fucking Tims into, into combat. And I have screenshots of those. I'll send this to you later, but going into, mandatory events and stuff, Tims, propeller hat, Ghosted literally had Dragon Ball Avies, they were pretty fucking sick. I will not lie. Those shit, he was wearing that shit like it was drip, bro. He, he had a Majin Vegeta fucking ODST armor, and that shit was in gold. Pretty fucking heat again. And so I kind of just left after getting pissed off with Rav, because like he just fucking rage baited. I love him, but I just don't fuck with the rage bait he does. It's just meh. So I talked to Hero about what happened. He kind of mentioned how disrespected I was, because they were all kind of like laughing about the whole thing instead of actually giving me an insight as to what's going on. And by the way, this all started because Sleepy had like asked if gold was only for higher comm, and Tundra was the one going into ODSTs, like ODST armor approvals, when he's just a Marine colonel. Of course, he had moderation powers, and he kind of abused them just to do someone else's job for them. Which for me does not sit right at all. And so I talked to Hero. Hero's like, yo, we should go talk to Noble. We should go talk to Noble. I'm like, yeah, let's go talk to Noble. And me and Hero, we get with Noble. Noble's, I can't remember what was said, but I only know is that me and Hero were able to dissect what fucking Noble was throwing at us and stuff. And there was like a point where he was quiet for a bit, and then he comes back, yo, do you want to bring Sleepy into this? I'm like, absolutely, because she was the one who kind of started all this. I'm like, absolutely. So Sleepy comes through the portal that we were at. She starts bringing up some bullshit out of nowhere on how like, oh, this armor wasn't even it wasn't even the armor that Engulfed wasn't even trying to get approved. I told Sleepy, send me the screenshot, because like she said that Mug had sent her screenshots of like the armor that was gonna get approved. So I told her, send me the screenshots and I'll see. It was the armor, but it was without gold. But Engulfed wasn't trying to get that approved. I was with him the day he used those armors as well. They were just for like a picture, like a photo shoot and stuff. He wasn't trying to get that at all, involved with UOH. So either one, Mug straight up fucking lied to Sleepy's fucking face, or two, they just were pulling some excuse out of their fucking ass. I don't know. And I kind of dissected that. She tried to bring up other things. Like I said, I can't remember what they were, but I also dissected that. And so they kind of stayed quiet, and me and Hero were looking at each other like, yeah, these guys are 100% in a VC together with like Tundra and Ghosted and all that. An outside source had already confirmed that was true. I'm not gonna say what that outside source is due to the fact that they didn't want me spilling the name. So yeah, shout out to you, by the way. Love you. So he comes back. Noble comes back and goes, my head hurts. Let's finish this conversation tomorrow with Ghosted. And I'm like, I would absolutely love to. I would love to finish this conversation with Ghosted. And we leave the world. Me and Hero are like, yeah, these guys are definitely in a VC together. We already know that. I go to the gym and all that. I got my fucking workout in. I fucking feel refreshed and all that. I come back home, and I receive a DM from Ghosted going, Bread, I have come to the decision to demote you. Surprise, surprise. The one guy who does a call out gets demoted. The reasons are as follow. One is that when I hear you do anything involving ODSTs, it is over my head, and you do not relay any information unless I ask. I wasn't even told what the things were that I was doing that was like over his head. The only thing I've done with like ODSTs was like the combat evaluations, and even then I was talking to Ghosted throughout that entire process. And combat evaluations were not gonna get installed until I talked to Ghosted. It was literally something that Noble told me to do because of a simple rumor that he heard that ODSTs were easy to get into. Which to me is like whack as shit, bro. And so he goes, even when I ask you to include me in things, you still go over me to the point where I had to go to Mop or Mug to come tell me things that you've done. One, Mop already fucking confirmed that this is straight like cap, but you know, I'll get into that in a second because you know some new an understanding came from both sides about this. Mop had already said that while I was a lieutenant colonel, that Ghosted had not come to him about anything. So this either A is coming from fucking Idea and Mug talking out of their fucking ass, or Mug just being salty that I had him just schedule like an extra fucking day of training, which he didn't even. Let me tell you, I had him throw a poll out, and it wasn't even him that threw the poll out. It was really Book. So I don't even know how that comes into play. He had also said that I have been very inactive. I have been a bit inactive, but you know, I still come to to these events. I still came. Even to the point where like a random 79th member who I just talked to said that they had seen me around more than Ghosted, so that kind of speaks for itself there. Shout out to so I don't know where he got that from. Another thing is like overall it seems that Hierocom and I have not seen improvement. Instead, the ODST branch behavior has worsened in general. Their behavior has remained the same. I haven't even seen a single change in their behavior at all. Like, I generally don't know what behavior they could be talking about, as they think their poor behavior is warranted. His words, not mine, and so apparently you guys have been misbehaving, according to Hierocom, by the way. You know, ODSTs as, like, in general. Oh, I got it.
So I know you still got probably a bit more to say
Just a little
when
bit.
it comes to the inside of things.
Mhm.
But if you don't mind me asking you another question,
Sure.
since we've kind of been talking about it for a little bit, the fallout of the entire incident. This would have been a question for later on, but it's the first one that popped up into my mind. Obviously you might know that a bunch of 9th Battalion has left due to the circumstances that have happened earlier. In these past weeks, and has left 9th Battalion with not a lot of members.
Yeah,
how do
I had
you
nothing.
how do you feel about the fallout?
I generally had nothing to do with that. I just left on my own terms. I did encourage one person to leave. That was dead because like he had already been like a troublemaker in 9th and whatnot. I'm not gonna lie. He's a cool person outside the server, but I just don't want him dealing with the stress of like having people go after him just based off how he is. But like other people left on their own terms. I didn't force or tell anyone to fucking leave. I've heard rumors saying that I'm forcing people to leave or I convinced these guys to leave. No, they left on their own accord. They left on their own accord. Any other questions?
A couple. So we'll loop back around to the insight question at the beginning later. But another thing, question that I had asked Hero, that I also plan to ask Tundra, or Hero plans to ask Tundra later on in another interview. There have been rumors, both inside and outside of UOH, about corruption in Hierocom. Now, Hero himself had said that he doesn't see it much as corruption and more favoritism. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like it is, more corruption, more favoritism? What is your stance on it?
I definitely say right now I would say probably it's gonna be like come a little corrupted simply because of like who's in Hierocom right now, but when I was around, it was generally favoritism. Like it was straight favoritism. No one got to like get their sides out or anything. It was like, hey, if this guy I like says this happens, then it's gonna happen. Like that's just how it was. Um, and there was just a lot of yes manning throughout like fucking plans we were making for the server and whatnot when it came to meetings. Especially when Hero was like making the MOS. No, I wasn't there for that meeting. But from what he told me, everyone was like yes manning like at everything he said. There was no question, there was no concerns or anything. I generally think they weren't even paying attention at all, but I would definitely say there is. You okay?
I had a bit of a stroke there. Apologies. Please continue.
No, yeah, no, I was already finishing up with the question. Like there is most definitely favoritism in Hieracom, like most definitely.
Okay, so you're siding with Hero then. It's less corruption, more
Uh-huh.
favoritism. Okay.
Exactly, which is it's still pretty fucking bad. Like there should never, when it comes to like stuff like this, there should be no excuse to have like a single bit of favoritism at all. Especially when you're trying to like when Hieracom, as your job as Hieracom, you're supposed to like help out the community, not yourselves. That's just not how fucking shit should be ran.
Hero had said a similar thing. So moving on to my next question before we loop back to the original one. Tundra is Brigadier General now due to the fact that you, Hero, and Ghosted have all left the server. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like that's a change that'll work, that'll be positive, or do you feel like it's a bit too premature? How do you feel about Tundra being B-Gen?
I feel like premature because I know that guy falls under pressure very easily, especially when he was like a lieutenant colonel for Marines for the first time. He had left because of like the Marines not liking him. No offense to bro, but I can kind of see why. He's a very problematic person, especially when the problem isn't even there. And so as a brigade general, like he's the only hierarcom that's actually like doing anything. Noble's not doing anything. Sleepy's not even developing a map. Terra Scout's fucking doing whatever, bro. He doesn't even do shit but just sit there and watch. Like the only time Noble does anything is when he appears to events, and even then, like he doesn't even do like a lot of dev work himself anymore. I feel bad for like the actual developers we have in the server, such as like EODOT and Gallium and Hate Recon. Though I see like a lot of like great potential when it comes to EODOT because like I fucking love like the guy's maps. Like they're fucking awesome. Like don't get me wrong, like movable cover, that was a fucking game changer, bro. That was fucking awesome. I had even like tried helping the guy get some like models approved for his dev work and stuff. Like I sent a bunch of like screenshots of like models that he had wanted to use for his weapons. I sent them to Noble like, hey man, are these good for him to use? And obviously Noble greenlit them. I don't know if I don't know if you used them, man. I generally hope you did. Those were like really cool models. They're models, but yeah.
All right. Well, to loop back around to the original question, I know you had a bit more to say. So when it comes to insight about everything, we can continue where you left off if you remember where you left off, and if not, we can move on to another question.
I did. It's just right after I had finished reading the DM and stuff like that. I kind of just sent a gif of like shackles being broken. Not there wasn't like any direct message behind it or anything like that. It was just like, oh, I finally don't have to deal with this shit anymore. Although it would have been nice to try to fucking fix it, but since nothing wants to be said, or done about things, just kind of wasn't fixed at all. And then later on, I hear rumors from other people saying that Tundra was not involved with like my demotion at all and whatnot. That for sure is not true at all. And an anonymous source even fucking confirmed that he was. Again, not gonna say who it was. How demotions work in Hieracom it's a majority vote, or everyone has to be in agreement with demoting this guy, like demoting people.
For example,
Hero,
back when Springer was demoted, I believe it
yeah,
was a group agreement as well.
everyone fucking agreed with that one, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Like he had already made up for his like past mistakes. I generally like hope he's doing better. But it has to be everyone has to agree or be on the same topic. Hero wasn't obviously included because he was with me on that talk, so Noble already knew that he was gonna say no. And like I said, it's not rocket science. Like Tundra and like Ghosted were like in the same fucking VC while Noble was streaming. Like an ex Hierocom member confirmed that's what they do as well. Like it's what they do. What was his name? Fucking I don't know. He said he was ex Hierocom. His name was he confirmed it's what they do most of the time. Like every time they're like something similar like this happens. And I definitely believe it. So yeah. But that's pretty much what's happened so far over the last like week.
So, another question that I have that I believe I asked Hero, it has been a day or two now. Do you believe that things could have gone differently, with the whole everything?
Absolutely. For starters, Hierocom would still have their members if they had generally actually like opened their ears, like, oh man, like, oh, I guess we messed up and all that. It's just like they're very one-sided as to what they want to agree on or like what they want to hear or what they want to like disapprove of or approve of and stuff like that. I already said that, but things would definitely have gone different if there just wasn't any favoritism or there wasn't any like what's the word double standards, right? That's the double standards.
It could probably be used in that context.
Yeah, if there wasn't any double standards in Hierocom, if there wasn't any like favoritism, this definitely would have gone a lot different.
Okay. Now another question that I know I did ask Hero, complete hypothetical. You know, just to ask basically. In the future, do you believe that there would be any chance of you rejoining? And if so, would there be a change that needs to happen for you to come back?
So generally for me to rejoin, I generally like for me to come back, I genuinely want to see a change in Hierocom, like member wise. I genuinely like I didn't like working with Terra Scout mainly because he didn't do anything. I'm gonna be straight up, and Noble has said it. He's only there because he's just good friends with Noble. That's it. He's just a veteran as well, apparently. But yeah, veterans can apparently get Hierocom, but you know, it's whatever. I definitely need to see if I wanted to come back, I would definitely need to see a member the different like Hierocom members in there, and I generally want to see like an actual thriving. I want to see Marines actually fucking thrive because when the situation with Marines were talked about, no one else but Hero was just doing stuff for Marines. Tundra would tell him to do the thing, he would give him instructions and whatnot. It was like a fucking blueprint. He just tossed him a blueprint and like Hero had to work with what he had. And he did a fucking phenomenal job. Like S4 was fucking thriving and whatnot. 17th had its like small issues, but it still had members. 79th was all like pretty good. But overall, when it came to work, it's just that Tundra wasn't doing a lot for like Marines. I don't know if he is right now since he's a brigade general. I haven't been in the server, but he just didn't do anything. And it was the same with me in like ODSTs, but like I didn't get to do a lot because there wasn't really much to change with ODSTs behavior wise, faction wise and whatnot. Like I was still a commander for like fucking 9th. Like I was still basically running the faction I was like in. And when it came to stuff like with 10th, I just kind of like I talked to Ghosted. I'm like, hey man, I'm thinking of like this needs to change, this needs to change and whatnot. Like I said, I talked to him. He came to agreeance. I told him I don't feel comfortable with this member being here, that member being Hanson, because he was very inactive. Mug had given me his reasons, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but like, I do feel for the guy, but he was still inactive. Like, you can't just tell me like you can't just expect me to like have a different perspective of things. Like, I understand why the guy was inactive, but he was still inactive, basically. And the only thing I did with 10th was like have them set up an extra day of like training. That was like the only thing I did. I literally could not know what else other people are talking about, because I also hear like it was stated in the demotion that I got that I was doing stuff over Ghosted's head, like doing changes and whatnot. I generally don't know what fucking changes these people are talking about. Mainly because like anything I plan on changing with ODSTs, I discuss with Ghosted. Like I said, the extra training day that Mug had, and the combat evaluation with ODSTs. But that was just like the only thing I've done. I generally like just don't understand like what else these guys could be talking about. I hear they say that, and like I hear they also don't provide what the things were. Which, why say I did something if you can't really provide the proof that I did it? Like it's just not there. You can agree with that, right?
I do agree. I do agree. I believe if a point is brought up or made, that there should be proof behind it, especially when it comes to accusations of people. Which
Exactly.
is part of the reason why the news exists. If there are opinions or accusations of people out there, whether it be false or true, we get the information out there.
Yeah. And fucking, I heard like that when I was like stepping in as a commander. When I was still commander, but as soon as I became a lieutenant colonel, I had to step in for like as commander again for 9th.
Mm-hmm.
I always, in my like evaluation meetings, I always give the same speech kind of thing, like, and I'm sure you've heard it too. Like I like whatever you guys want to do, and I'm talking to like 9th specifically. I would normally encourage it. Like I let you guys, if you guys wanted to be Spartans, I would push it. I would push you guys to it. Like, you guys want to fucking do this fire team thing? Like, go right a fucking head. You guys want to go to a different faction because you're not comfortable with 9th? I completely understand. That's for you guys. That's the decision for you guys to make. But I never halted 9th in anything. And Mop can even fucking back me up on this one. Like, I had them do like 3 trainings a day, and like we were all like fine with it. And I just kind of like it like really hurts to hear that someone has been saying that like I've been preventing my boys from doing anything, when in reality, if they wanted to do something, I would 100% encourage it. Like if they wanted to be higher comm, bro, let me put your fucking resume on the list there. Like, are you kidding? I wanted my faction to fucking thrive. I wanted my faction to be more open to fucking choices. Like, that kind of genuinely hurt when I heard like, oh, he didn't let fucking Mop or whatever do what they needed to do. I'm like, but I did. Like, and I genuinely like, I genuinely don't know what these people could be talking about. You got any other questions, bud?
Yeah, I do have one or two more. It's kind of and it's relevant to your answer where you had said that you would have wanted to see a change in higher comm members. Obviously you're not in the server anymore, and 9th took a hit. Server in general kind of took a hit. S4 is also kind of struggling as well. They're going through a bit of a revamp at the moment to try to get more members. But do you think? Here, let me word it better. In your opinion, do you think or feel that there are any members, server wide doesn't have to be, relative to a specific faction. Do you think that there is anyone who has the potential to be high or higher com? And if so, if you'd like to share, you can, and if not, you can just say yes or no.
I don't really know. I just with the people I seen, I know Striker definitely wanted to try to become higher com. And for me on Striker, it's like a 50-50 cuz like he manages his faction all right. It's just that he does, and I will like he might say he not. What's good, Bean Poo?
I don't know if the camera can see, but Bean is right here off camera. He's
Yo, get your
interning
greets
for the
in,
day.
Bean Poo.
I don't want to disturb or nothing, but you keep talking. I just want to say something after you're done.
You're good,
I'll
King.
even take a seat.
Yeah, for sure. But it's just like he kind of like when I'll use this as an example. When Groovy was getting in a lot of in like trouble, I get you want to defend your boys. I've been there myself, but I couldn't excuse it either. He came up with like a lot of excuses for like Groovy, and it had to lead to engulf like kind of having Striker put that demotion in because like there was nothing else. But when it comes to like other people, I just generally don't know. Definitely not Idea. Definitely, I'd say if Book wanted to, he would definitely really do good for ODSTs as a fucking colonel or lieutenant colonel. Like he would definitely make some change. But with Marines, I don't really know how their leadership is like in general. So I like with Marines, I don't know. With ODSTs, I can definitely say with a fact, it's definitely Book. Like it's and if I already know Engulf doesn't want to, but if he had wanted to, I would definitely agree with Engulf and shit like that. Like he would fucking he literally carried the server for like a year straight on his own with just pure fucking talent on his like maps with his weapons and whatnot and like armor making and stuff. He was coming out with fucking maps like don't get me wrong. Sleepy was doing the same thing, but they just weren't the same quality as fucking Engulfs, bro. They were just pure art. All right, did you want to get your comment in, Bean Poo?
Oh, right. Bean, what would you like to say?
Yeah. No, I just wanted to say real quick. This might be controversial, but I believe that UOH's 9/11 was Dookie leaving, having to step down. I believe that is the reason everything has gone to shit. Low key, not gonna lie, he held it together. He was like the funny child in a very fucked up marriage, you know?
Yeah. When my own opinion about Dookie, if it wasn't engulfed, it was definitely Dookie that was the voice of reason. He didn't do much. Don't get me wrong, but he definitely was like the most reasonable besides like engulfed.
He knows how to listen, you know?
Yeah, he does.
He
He gets everyone's point of view in instead of just
Yeah.
one person's point of view.
People took that shit for granted, low key.
I agree.
Yeah.
As I said with I believe Hero in our interview a couple days ago, when it comes to Dookie, not only did he pave the way for the UNN, but I believe in general, especially back when he was active, that he's a pretty good, if not one of like the best, if not one of the best, like role models and leaders to look up to. He set a really good example, and I believe people should follow that more. I believe when he was around, he did his job really well.
By the way, Dookie, I hope shit's going fucking splendid with your wife and kids if you're watching this, bro. Love you.
I agree. We did do a segment on his daughter as well. We did bring the announcement up.
Nice.
But I do believe that is all that I have for you today. Thank you for taking the time for this interview. Thank you, Beeben, as well for popping in.
Yeah.
Do either of you have anything you want to say to the camera? Any last messages, words, opinions, anything you want to say?
When it comes to sharing your opinion in your server, just be careful with who you share it with, or if you have a disagreement, good luck with trying to solve that disagreement, because right now it's gonna be like a one-sided disagreement, especially with who's running higher comm. Just good luck. But just
Beeben,
careful with
do
who
you
you
have
share your
anything?
opinion. Yeah.
I'll just say, we just need more positive change in this shit, man. We don't need any more problems. There have been plenty throughout the years, and it's time to just grow up for real. This
guys.
drama shit is low key childish. This is some high school
Tell
shit,
'em.
guys.
Love you, Dookie. Love you, Ghosted.
I love you too, Pookie.
Love you too, Bean Poo. 9th, I generally hope you guys do well. I doubt Idea will be able to do much for the faction, especially with his experiences right now. But besides him, I hope you guys do well. Good luck. That's it.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, down at the UNN. Today we are joined by Brigadier General Tundra. So, Tundra, my first question for you is, the new promotion, how does it make you feel?
Really? I mean, it wasn't given out over the best of terms. It was only really so I could help out with the ODST side more. I feel like I'm honored that I was given it, but it's with a heavy heart that I take that promotion.
My second question for you is, despite this new promotion, what is it that you have to say about the opinions of you being in this position? One's negative and positive.
So, I don't really listen to people's opinions about me. I try to stay that away. I know personally I'm doing what's best for the server, and I'm doing what's best for my people. And I think sooner enough, a lot of the people that want to talk about it, they'll sort of see the amount of effort I'm putting in.
That's very good to hear. It's nice to hear that you have a well-rounded head on your shoulders, blocking out all the haters, keeping up that good vibe. And it's nice to hear about the ODST specifically, which is what my next question is about. With the recent falling of 9th, how do you plan on bringing that faction back with the current captain Idea?
So right now for 9th, we have a lot of very passionate members. The members that are still in 9th currently, they bleed 9th, right? So I'm going to be working really hard with them. Members like Knight, members like Idea, even Big Dog Louie. We're opening up a Hellweek next week. We're going to be encouraging people to try to strive for 9th, sort of bring 9th up, make ODSTs a lot more prestigious,
That's very wonderful to hear. I'm sorry to cut you off. We just got to get through this a little quickly. Cut that bit out. But for the next question, after the fall of 9th, more around the Marine side, with the Marines having little to no leadership now, what are the plans to bring that up?
So we brought Rav in, we brought the Spartans in to sort of lead a faction. I'm of course still there, but right now, it's all of Higher Comm that's stepping up to sort of help everyone in the server, so there should be no issue with leadership.
All right, that's great to hear, especially with the recent falling of S4. I heard a lot of members have left that faction recently.
Yeah.
Very sad to hear. But I hope to see it back on the upper as well as the other Marine factions.
Of course.
For my next set of questions, it's going to get a little more political. Answer what you feel comfortable answering. Sure. So with the whole uniform situation, it was very, very noble of you to, step up and admit at least there were some errors pertaining to that whole thing. What are your opinions and comments, at least about the situation that led to a lot of server discourse?
Yeah, I'm not going to comment publicly on that, especially not on a broadcast like that. Everyone who needs to know my opinions knows it.
All right. For my, I guess, next and final question.
It's okay. I can take the question. If you want my insight on the situation, I think the recent events are nothing short of horrible. I think a lot of people are taking a very big blow, and it's hurt a lot of people with the way that a lot of things have gone down, not managed super well. But it's a good thing we're always looking towards the future, right? If we allow ourselves to stay too locked in to the stuff in the past, we won't be able to move on and evolve. So I think that it's a shame, but I think we also have to look past it and move on. sort of to try to do our best and put our best foot forward.
I agree. Very big tragedy, and I can't wait to see how we bounce back from it, especially on the ODST side. Thank you so much for this interview. I hope you have an amazing day. You definitely got an event to get to. Back to the station with Knight and Blitz.
That's going to be it for us today, everybody on the UNN. Thank you guys for joining for us on this broadcast. Logan, thank you for joining us, and thank you to all of our special guests.
This is illegal.
For joining us on this broadcast.
Show us the
We will
audit
see you guys
log.
in the next broadcast.
Show us
Over
the
and out.
Icon files.